We're introducing again Dave Salvador from Gogo, talking about 5G aviation and the fact that you guys are getting ready to take over the world with a brand of 5G that's of no threat to anybody.
Correct.
Tell me about building the kind of infrastructure that can first cover the country and I assume goes other places from here.
Yeah, so Gogo has a history of building air-to-ground networks, and this actually is our fourth air-to-ground network that we've built. This is a second network to our existing network. So we have a current 4G network, and we're adding another network on top of that. We're utilizing some of the same towers that we have our 4G infrastructure on, but we also have the benefit of already having all the ground infrastructure there because we're hanging new antennas on an existing network that's there. So we're deploying 150 5G towers that will cover, when we go live, continental US. And as you said, there are plans to continue to expand that in North America potentially, based on the business case. But the customers will have the ability to take off anywhere in CONUS, and with a 5G equipped aircraft, which we can talk about a little bit, that will allow them to have coverage across the entire continental US.
Let's talk about what it takes to equip an aircraft in particular, because you're covering a bigger swath in aviation than you ever have.
Yep.
And that's a lot of different types and categories of airplanes.
Correct.
You're down to single engine personal jets and so forth and working your way up from there. What's it take to equip an aircraft right now to be able to use Gogo 5G?
So the Advanced platform, which is our current product line, that was announced less than 5 years ago, August 2017. Mm-hmm. And it is a software-centric platform that we have different hardware configurations that offer different experiences for customers. But it is a common set of components that allow us to build those different configurations. The Advanced L5, which is currently our top of the line for Advanced, that is the foundation that you will add the 5G hardware to get a 5G experience. So you'll be actually adding a second box to an existing L5 installation, or in the future, a new installation. There'll be two LRUs, line replaceable units in the aircraft that will deliver a 5G experience. And then there'll be a new antenna that'll be installed, two of them on the belly of the aircraft that will have multi-band antenna elements in there. So it'll have our current network, it'll have the 5G network antenna element, and actually we're adding the terrestrial modem, which in the current configuration is inside the aircraft. So all those components for the antennas will be in the new antenna that we just received our first STC in Parts Manufacturing Authority last month. We announced that last month. So it's called the MB13, multi-band 13-inch blade antenna.
Outstanding. The current plans are to be deployed by the end of the year. This was the big announcement, of course, yesterday, and got a lot of fanfare and interest in that, not to mention the fact that you hit the million mark, a particularly impressive one under the circumstances in regards to how the system is being utilized. Where will this go? I mean, ultimately, I'm sure you can't explain your complete roadmap for the future, but what is Gogo going to be looking like in the next few years?
Sure. So you mentioned the million mark. That is, we have exceeded 1 million flights, wheels up to wheels down with the Advanced platform, and we have over 2,600 systems that have been installed through our authorized partner network, and that's either the OEMs on the line fit side for new aircraft, or the aspect of the aftermarket and installing the equipment in the aftermarket. So where we're going is we're building what's next to meet the demands of our customer base. And as we know on the ground, the applications that we use continually get more data consumption aggressive, and we're building the 5G network to plan and to provide options for customers to have more capacity in the aircraft. It's not necessarily just more speed, it's about widening the river of data, right? You consider a 1-lane highway for data versus a 3-lane highway. Adding 5G takes a 1-lane highway to a 3-lane highway, as an example.
And it's such an addictive process. That's the part that's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you last year, we were reminiscing a little bit about my operations in a CJ3 with Tracy Forrest, God bless him. And boy, I'll tell you what, he lived by you guys. I mean, it's funny, we'd get off the ground, he'd look at me, your airplane, he'd go to work with his laptop, and I'm keeping an eye on this and that, but at the same time catching up with notes to home and everything else, and what's happening in the office. And it was extraordinary, the versatility, that kind of both amount and quality of data allowed us to have, especially, we're running from one end of the country to the other for the Living Legends dinner, and there's a lot going on, and oh yeah, we're doing barbecue in Texas at the fuel stop, and all the things that are going on, and oh yeah, what's happening with this project and that story. And we never stopped. It was extraordinary just how much it broadened the use of the airplane. The airplane is an extraordinary tool, but when you've got data to go with it, when you have no limits and you're not walled off from the world is brought into your cockpit and your cabin.
Right.
Holy smokes, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and there was only 2 of you on the aircraft utilizing the system at the time, and that's when you start looking at, you get a Gulfstream as an example, or a Global, Bombardier Global aircraft, and these size. I'm
ready, bring it on.
and 10, 11 people on board the airplane, average count of devices connected to the internet could be 2.5 devices. And in our world of business aviation, most of the time they're all going to work, right?
Yeah.
And in the last couple of years, the challenges we've had, the demand for video conferencing, as an example, heavy data consumption when you do video conferencing, and imagine that, 35,000 feet above the ground. So that's where we start looking at what the demand is today, and we've seen over a 40% increase in data consumption just in the last year from what it was a year ago. And that's where we need to have tools for our customers to make sure that they can do what they want to do in the airplane, and also the crews, what they want to do, weather graphics and all those type of things from a safety perspective. So that is really where Gogo is going, is we're continuing to look at meeting the demand, not only today, but what we can do in the future. And then, beyond that, as an organization, we continue to investigate global connectivity solutions. So that's something that we are working on, and I'm not at liberty to talk any more than that, but that is something that we continue to work on.
Is that likely to be a terrestrial solution, though?
Unlikely to be a terrestrial solution.
I kind of figured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, what's happening right now, especially in regards to current, future internet capabilities, data capabilities, and so forth, it automatically seems to be generating to, okay, what can you launch and from where?
Yeah.
So that'd be an interesting transition for you. But right now, with the ability to cover the country, are you finding that the industry is really embracing the power of what you're bringing to it? Are they really beginning to comprehend just what you've got?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I would completely agree with you is if you look at how in aviation we've had the last couple of years with the pandemic, a lot of folks have moved to business aviation, whether it be more charter activity, people buying fractional shares of business aircraft, people buying new aircraft owners.
Yeah. You've done some fleet sales already, haven't you?
Yeah, we recently just announced PlaneSense, which is a fractional operator out of the Northeast. They have equipped their entire PC-12 and PC-24 fleet with the Advanced L3 platform. So that is, again, just one of the things we hear all the time is that when somebody goes to charter an airplane, buy a fractional share, there's 2 questions they have. They have one, what does it cost? And does it have Wi-Fi?
There you go.
And that's why it's paramount to make sure that they're connected, and that's why we've been fortunate to have products that meet the demand.
And let's face it, if you don't, they're calling the next charter operator right away. You just click, and they're on to plan B.
And everything we've heard from our partners that or our customers that are using it in the fleets, they don't have enough aircraft right now to meet the demand that they're seeing in lift requests. So they're going out and they're buying airplanes, and if those airplanes don't have connectivity, they've got to add it, because every one of their value adds that they have by using, to your point, if that airplane doesn't have connectivity, they may not get the charter.
Yeah. Boy, interesting competition scene coming up in no uncertain terms. What happened? Okay, you get to a 5G completion. North America is sound. How much of the community is that going to be able to handle, and for how long? Are you going to have to build up upon that, or will that pretty much settle for the future until you start moving out of the geometry of CONUS?
So we have, of course, our current network is made up over 250 towers. And we're launching our 5G network with 150 towers for completion continental US. We have the ability to add more towers. So we look at it from a futuristic standpoint of we're not going to stop adding investments into the network if we can't provide the same level of service. And that, as a company, we historically have had the benefit of seeing forward of what the demand may be based on our continued sales, and then adding infrastructure to accommodate that. The other side of it is we were sharing our existing network at one point with the commercial aviation business, which, as we talked about last year, that was something during COVID that we've now sold. Intelsat purchased that from us. So we are solely focused on business aviation. That is what we do when we're laser focused on it. So we have the ability to add capacity when necessary, and we will do that well in advance of having any degradation of service for our customer base.
Interesting. The operator right now has got himself a CJ3 or 4 or a Challenger or what have you, has a solution that isn't working so well. Here's 5Gs, his ears get tuned real quick and go, whoa, wait a second, I need that. What is the process? What advice, what direction do you give somebody who wants to take on this kind of capability?
So our products are somewhat of a stepping stone with the different hardware configurations that we offer. So the Advanced L3, we talked about when you were flying, you had 2 people on the aircraft, and everything that you were doing, it was meeting the needs of what you were doing. It really comes down to that. You may hear 5G and you may say, I need that, but maybe we're meeting your needs right now, so there's not that stepping stone necessary yet. Now, if you do need more, the Advanced L5 is the platform to add the 5G bearer, essentially. And that is a matter of adding one single box in the aircraft connecting to the existing infrastructure. All the Wi-Fi that's set up in the aircraft today is already there and does not need to change. The antennas that are on the bottom of the aircraft for the Advanced L5, those would come off, and we would add the new multiband 13 antenna that we talked about earlier, and that will offer the ability now to have 5G on the aircraft.
Wonderful. All righty. And at this point, what aspects of the industry do you think you'd be targeting next? I mean, you're looking at the biz jets. I mean, is there any room for GA? Is there any room in rotor? So
we have been slowly moving down market with our product offerings. You mentioned the Cirrus jet and the announcement we made about 8 months ago. We've had over 35 of those airplanes already equipped with the Advanced L3 offering the connectivity. So we are stretching our market penetration and our market segmentation. We are looking at going farther downstream in the community to offer different levels of connectivity. It's always, economies of scale of what somebody's willing to invest in a hardware and installation, and then what they're willing to pay for service. So there's tremendous opportunity out there. Our network is robust. It can handle, lots more airplanes. It just comes down to if we can come up with that, the business proposition for us as a company, as well as the customer if we're willing to pay for it.
How about rotor?
Rotor is a challenge with air-to-ground. That's not something that we could do with an air-to-ground system from the physics behind it.
We rotor guys have tendency to get nosebleeds above 100 feet anyway. So.
Yeah, the network turn on and turn off point, which we lowered to 3,000 last year, but it also comes down to the physics behind an underground where the signals work and that type of thing with the network.
All righty. I'll tell you what, we're anxious to see when we get together in Orlando next year just how the full rollout has gone, and more important by then, and hopefully have a chance to try the system out in real time myself. I'm looking forward to that as well. More important, as I understand it, you guys are doing a live demo today with one of your tower installations going live. So we're excited to see what comes of all that, and more important, what we'll learn in the process.
Yep.
If you will, keep us up to date news-wise. It's been an interesting process. There have been changes at the top. There are changes and upgrades with the system, with the capabilities. You guys are hard to keep up with, and we're just barely catching breath as okay, what did Gogo do now? So, fun stuff.
It is, and you mentioned the progress of the network. we actually launched a live a map that shows which sites are turned on, and in full transparency between now and when the system goes into full service at the week of November 18th. That's on our website today, and people can follow along and see the final build out of the system in the network live on our website.
You guys are going to be a lot of fun at NBAA this year, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
Outstanding. Dave, as always, you guys are fun to follow because, let's face it, when it comes to innovation, you guys are really pushing the limit. That's fun
Thanks,
to watch.
Jim. We appreciate the opportunity to talk about it too.
There we go.
News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors: